I originally grew up in northern New Jersey, up in Bergen County, outside of New York City. I was born in 1963, so I lived there through the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s until I went to college. I came from a really big Italian close family, so we always had relatives around. We would, have the big 3-hour meals where we'd eat, and then we'd play poker, and people would drop in all the time. My dad was a truck driver. He was in a Teamsters local. My mom didn't work when I was first born, but then she ended up working at a nursery school, and eventually she worked as a lab. So they were both kind of, 9 to 5. The big Italian, I like to tell people, is kind of the Sopranos without all the murder. So my dad was really fun. He was always like the life of the party. He was, he would be the one that everybody loved him. All my girlfriends, had a crush on my dad because he was always smiling and happy and really a fun guy. Yet he didn't have a whole lot of confidence in himself too, because he was a truck driver. He had an 8th grade education. So he always lacked a little bit of he didn't realize how great he was, I don't think. My mom was, she was a great mom, but she was always the worrier. She was kind of the negative one, where my dad was always jolly. My mom was always worrying about, paying the bills and what's going to happen and who's going to get hurt and health and sickness. So she was much more of a worrier. I was the first born in my family. I was the first grandchild, and my grandmother used to write poetry, so I would always draw pictures and write poems with my grandmother. My uncle Mikey was a photographer, and I was his model. So I remember being a little kid and posing for pictures and always kind of the model. But I also was a little bit of a tomboy. So once I got older, I played sports my whole life. Most of my friends, I had friends that were either tomboys or boys. So I was definitely, out there scraping my knees and getting dirty. The first job I ever had was probably the worst job I ever had. I was a telephone solicitor for credit cards for department stores. It was awful. And then I ended up working at McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's for 2 years, and I loved that part. I enjoyed. I ended up being a manager and helping, count the money and do the books for McDonald's, so I enjoyed that a lot more. When I went to college, I actually had an experience that had a huge effect on my life. It's part of, I think, what got me to where I am today. But I was driving home to visit my family, and I was excited to go spend the weekend with my family. And I was driving up the New Jersey Turnpike. It was a Friday night, and I hit a puddle in the left lane, and my car started to skid. And suddenly I'm facing into oncoming traffic and crowded road, and all I could think of was God, please don't let me die. And then suddenly I found myself on the right shoulder. I was facing forward. My car was still running, and I was fine. And then I'm like, oh my God, I must have caused a huge pileup. And I looked out to the road expecting to see, cars all crashed. And there was nothing. The cars are still driving, And at that point, all I could think of was this was divine intervention. I was saved for a purpose. I don't know what it is, but I know I was saved for there was someone protected me for a reason. And that really was a pivotal moment, because I spent the rest of my life, I think, looking for that purpose. One of the things I started doing after I graduated college was scuba diving, which brought me to this place. I actually came to this place right after my divorce, or in the midst of my divorce, and had a wonderful experience and really got my life invigorated. And I met my husband. We were friends for a number of years before we ended up dating. So I was in this last job. I had been doing it for about 10 years, still working as a chemical engineer. I was the director of business development, and I thought I would do that till I retired and do something else. And then my boss retired, and everyone thought I would get offered his job, and I didn't. They brought someone else in from another division, and he and I didn't have similar values. And then one day I had a sales meeting about 4 hours from my house. I drove to the sales meeting. I had a meeting with my boss scheduled for 4 o'clock that afternoon. And when I got there, I went to check into the hotel, and they told me my hotel room was canceled. And I was like, oh, that's weird. It must be a mistake. Do you have a room available? One of my coworkers who was going to the meeting was checking in. I was like, did your room cancel? He's like, no. And he even joked with me. He's like, oh, that's the way they tell you you're fired. So I go to meet my boss for the meeting we had scheduled, and I walk in the room, something felt off. There was another vice president there, and I'm like, what's he doing here? We're supposed to talk about, our CRM. And they said hello, and then my boss says there's someone on the phone, and someone on the phone said, this is Angie in HR. We're terminating you. You'll be paid till the end of the day. Go turn in your laptop and your company credit card and go home. And I drove home, and like the first half of that 4 hours I was a mess, like angry, fearful, terrified, confused. Just my emotions were all over the place. And about halfway home, like the thought popped into my head that I don't have to go to work tomorrow. And it was like, I don't have to go to work tomorrow. It was like this sense of joy and freedom. And it was like this weight had lifted off my shoulder. And then I realized, I've been searching for this purpose my whole life. I've been searching for it in corporate jobs, in different activities, through different people. And I realized that the purpose was inside me the whole time, that my purpose was to be me, to be that incredible, extraordinary person that I am, that I was born to be, that I was, made in God's image, that person. And that I wanted to spend the rest of my life learning to be that person and helping other people do the same. And I always wanted to write a book, and I never really had the time. So I said, okay, I'll write a book. And I wrote a book. I worked with a publisher. And as I was writing this book, my book is called The Reinvention Mindset. And the book really was, I looked at people who had, I'd always admired people who had terrible tragedies, and instead of falling apart, they came out and did something amazing. So I started interviewing these people and found out they had this, what I call the reinvention mindset. And that's what the book's about. And I realized that I had a lot of that in me too. So the book is partially my journey to figure out what I'm going to do. And in that journey, I love speaking. So I had always spoke during my corporate life, gave tons of talks. They were on chemical engineering topics, but I loved speaking. I loved teaching. I've done that my whole life. So I was like, okay, well, that's one thing I can do. And I found coaching, and I started getting coaching certifications and found like this is a great way to help people get rid of that meh and that, so I didn't coach people who were at the bottom, because there are a lot of coaches that do that. I coach people that were stuck in that mediocrity, that meh, that good enough, people, I have a good job. So what if I don't love it? Who am I to complain? At least I can pay my bills. And that's not the way we're meant to live. I think everyone's meant to live joyfully, fulfilling. So I would help people find that, it's okay to let go of that safety and that security to get this amazing, this extraordinary. My ultimate goal is to change the world, one extraordinary person at a time. So I came up with this Done For You, Run For You retreats, where I do retreats for other people to help take their purpose and give their clients or their team transformational experiences to help them live amazing lives. A retreat done right will bring something that you take with you back. And then you want to keep going. You want to be around those people again and again. You want to have that community. Let's stay connected. Let's meet once a month. Next year, let's meet back here and do another retreat. I believe the world is an amazing place, and we need to experience it. So you build those connections, you build those experiences, and you truly come away from a retreat transformed. When you're grateful, when you're joyful, when you're fulfilled, all those negative emotions can't exist at the same time. So that's why I do what I do, and I love it.